Welcome to the channel. I'm Max, and I have another livery for Forza 7 that I want to introduce. This is the number 7 Bentley Continental GT, GT3 car that won the 2020 Bathurst 12-hour race earlier this year. And this, again, is not the exact car because I don't have access to the correct spec car as I nail those cones there. Here in Forza 7, so I had to use the older spec car, so some things don't line up, and I had to take some creative license with it. But this car was a pretty neat car. It's its sister car, the number 8. But as you can see, it's 17 on the grill because that's what Forza 7 has, and they didn't allow us to paint the grill or the rear wing, for that matter, which is why the crew logo is up on the front fender instead of the sides of the wing, and I also left off a logo from the base of the wing that I just didn't have a place to put, really. So anyway, it's quite a bit different than the real car, so this is more of an homage, I guess, than an actual detailed skin. It's a little bit different than my Porsche was from what it should have been, although that one had a lot of differences too. Anyway, this car was a pretty cool car and really deserved to win, so it was good to see it win. Now, I used to hate these cars when I first saw the Bentley Continental GT. I thought they were big, ugly cars. They didn't really look that fast. They seemed like they were sort of sluggish. And looking at the just kind of the way they were laid out, they looked like they would be sluggish and not handle very well. But they're really, really fast cars. And in the 2019 Bathurst 12 hours, these cars were they were fast, but they had some problems, electrical problems and things like that. I think they would have been in it in the end if it wouldn't have been for whatever was going on with their kill switches or pit limiters or whatever. And then in the 2020, so I started liking them when I was watching the 2019 just because of how fast they were. But 2020, I gained a lot of respect for the Bentley teams and these cars because they were fast. They, halfway through the race, it just seemed like nothing else was really going to be able to catch them consistently. After all pit stops kind of shook out, the Bentleys always wound up towards the top, especially the 7. The 8 wound up retiring from the race. I think they had a broken axle, and they tried to get back in it but couldn't. And then one really cool thing that they did, and I don't know if this was premeditated before the race or if they had just come up with it on the spot, but they started auctioning off parts of the cars to fans behind the pits and giving the money to the Australian wildfire relief, which I thought was really cool. It was really classy and great PR as well. So and then in addition to that, late in the race, if I remember right, it was Suchek that was driving, but I could be wrong about that. Anyway, they had a healthy lead and everything looked to be going just right, and they had a blowout coming down the Conrad Straight, and man, the crew was Johnny on the spot with tires, and it worked out to where it was just basically a tire change. The driver did a great job of keeping it on the track at the highest point or highest speed point of the track, getting through the chase and getting into the pits to get the tires changed. So that was really cool to see. And at that point, it looked like, oh man, they've raced so well. This could be it. This could be them out of the first position, potentially off the podium if this has damaged the car or anything like that. But they got the car back out on the track, and it was just as fast as ever, and they wound up winning, and so it was great to watch. So anyway, I've over the past few years, I've gone from not really liking these cars to having a lot of respect for them, and this paint job or this livery was really cool and different, and so I thought that I would try to make it on the Bentley Continental GT that I had access to here in Forza 7. And again, like I said, I had to take some creative license. I I did some things a little bit differently, but all of these squares and lines, half of them or a little over half of them are hand placed. I mirrored them, which I don't think the real car is mirrored, but I mirrored it so I wouldn't have to do as many hand placements. But every single one of those is hand placed, and then I had to kind of custom make some of these logos, which everybody does. Everybody that paints these cars has to custom make some of the logos and things, most of the logos. So but you know, I'm trying to think of all the things. So one thing that I really wanted to do was put the Mobile One logo that I made in those. I kind of call them nostrils. I don't know what you would really call them, but you can't paint those areas. And since it's a different car, I don't know that it would have looked great anyway. It looks a little different on the real car. But as you can see, it is a lot of work to put together a paint job like this, especially something that has so many little vinyls. This particular emblem I'm actually quite proud of. It's not exactly the way it should be, but it's as close as I could make it, and it required a lot of work with transparency and kind of trying to get a fade in there. So it was pretty weird to try to figure out how to do that. It was a good challenge. So and again, I wish I could change the 17 to a 7, but I can't. And the Pirelli stickers should go down, if I remember right, on the real car. They should go down on kind of the black part of the splitter. It's not really the splitter, but it's maybe splitter supports or something like that. Let's see, another disappointing thing, and this is kind of disappointing on any car, is when you start getting the logos small, they get really distorted. So I wish that Forza had a way to scale these a little bit better, because what you'll see is these flags. Like, I spent a lot of time on this South African flag, and it looked great, and then whenever you shrink it down, it gets really, really tiny. So I wound up, you can't see it here, but I wound up actually bumping it up to a size 2, and it looked a little bit better. But anyway, that's it. This is available for download and use if you would like, and feel free to go find it, and thanks for watching.